The phone call lasted only 11 seconds. An Uber driver in the middle of the night whispered, "Something isn't right." Then the line went dead. Hours later, police found his car abandoned on a dark road outside the city. The headlights were still on. His wallet was untouched. His phone had vanished. And the passenger he picked up just before midnight had disappeared without a trace. What began as a normal ride through the streets of America became one of the most chilling crimes investigators had ever seen. Because this wasn't a robbery gone wrong. It was something far more disturbing, something nobody expected. This is the story of the Uber ride that ended in a crime nobody saw coming. In the summer of 2021, rideshare driving had become one of the most common jobs in the United States. Every night, thousands of drivers crossed cities carrying strangers from bars, airports, train stations, and quiet neighborhoods. Most rides were completely ordinary. Brief conversations, silent trips, quick payments through an app. But for many drivers, there was always one fear in the back of their minds. You never truly know who is getting into your car. 34-year-old Daniel Reyes knew that risk better than most. Living in Houston, Texas, Daniel had spent nearly 3 years driving late-night shifts for extra income. Friends described him as calm, polite, and deeply devoted to his family. He worked long hours during the day, repairing air conditioning systems, and drove for Uber at night to help support his wife and young daughter. He was the kind of person passengers trusted immediately. Daniel kept snacks in the back seat. He remembered passengers' names. He helped elderly riders carry groceries. He even kept phone chargers available for strangers who forgot theirs. To Daniel, driving was simple. Pick people up safely, drop them off safely, go home. On August 14th, 2021, Daniel began his shift shortly after 8 p.m. Surveillance footage later showed him stopping at a gas station before turning on the Uber app. Nothing seemed unusual. The first few rides were routine. A college student going downtown, a nurse finishing a late hospital shift, a couple returning from dinner. At around 11:47 p.m., Daniel received a ride request from an area on the eastern side of Houston, near an industrial district filled with warehouses and abandoned buildings. It wasn't a location he normally liked driving to, especially that late at night. But business had been slow, and the ride showed a high fare. The passenger account displayed the name Eric. No profile photo. No rating history. Still, Daniel accepted the ride. Traffic cameras later captured Daniel's silver Toyota Camry pulling into a dimly lit parking lot behind an old convenience store. The passenger was already waiting. At first glance, nothing appeared suspicious. The man wore a dark hoodie and carried a backpack. Witnesses nearby later told police he seemed nervous, constantly looking over his shoulder before entering the car. The ride officially began at 11:52 p.m. For the next several minutes, everything seemed normal. GPS records showed the vehicle moving west through Houston streets toward a residential neighborhood, approximately 20 minutes away. Then something changed. At 12:07 a.m., Daniel sent a voice message to his wife. It was short, unusually short. "Hey, I might be a little late tonight. Strange passenger. I'll call you soon." His wife later told investigators the message immediately worried her. Daniel was not someone who frightened easily, but what happened next would confuse investigators for months. At 12:11 a.m., the Uber trip abruptly ended inside the app. Not at the passenger's destination, not near any residential address. The ride ended on a remote stretch of road near a shipping yard outside the city. 2 minutes later, Daniel attempted to call 911. The call connected briefly. Dispatchers heard heavy breathing, muffled movement, and Daniel whispering only a few words. "He has a gun." Then silence. The line disconnected. Police immediately attempted to trace the location, but by the time officers arrived 23 minutes later, Daniel was gone. His Toyota Camry sat abandoned beside the road. The driver's door remained open. The engine was still running. One headlight had been shattered, but investigators noticed something deeply unsettling. There was almost no sign of a struggle. No blood, no shell casings, no damaged interior. Daniel's wallet still sat in the center console containing cash and credit cards. His watch remained inside the vehicle. Even his wedding ring had not been taken. Robbery clearly was not the motive. Yet Daniel himself had vanished. Police immediately began searching nearby areas with dogs and helicopters. Nothing was found. Meanwhile, detectives subpoenaed Uber records and discovered something alarming about the passenger account named Eric. The account had been created only hours before the ride. The phone number attached to it was prepaid and untraceable. The email address was fake, and the payment card used for the ride belonged to a victim of identity theft reported weeks earlier in another state. Whoever entered Daniel's car had carefully hidden their identity. Investigators began considering a terrifying possibility. Was Daniel specifically targeted? News of the disappearance spread rapidly across Texas. Social media users shared Daniel's photo across thousands of posts. Fellow Uber drivers organized volunteer searches across Houston. His wife appeared on local television begging for information. "Our daughter keeps asking when he's coming home," she said through tears. "Please, if somebody knows something, tell the police." Days passed without answers. Then Then, detectives uncovered the first major clue. Investigators recovered surveillance footage from a traffic camera nearly 5 miles from where Daniel's car had been found. The footage showed the Toyota stopped briefly at a red light at 12:09 a.m. Daniel was still driving, but in the back seat, cameras captured something chilling. The passenger appeared to be leaning forward aggressively toward Daniel, one arm stretched between the front seats. Police enhanced the footage frame by frame. The passenger was holding a handgun. Suddenly, the case transformed from a disappearance into a suspected kidnapping. The FBI joined the investigation. Agents traced the prepaid phone used for the Uber account and discovered it had briefly connected to a cell tower near a motel outside Houston earlier that same evening. Officers searched the motel and interviewed staff members. One employee remembered seeing a man matching the passenger's description. He had checked in under a fake name and paid cash. More importantly, security cameras showed the man leaving the motel carrying a backpack shortly before Daniel picked him up. Investigators searched the motel room carefully. At first, nothing unusual appeared inside. Then forensic teams sprayed luminol across the bathroom floor. The entire room lit up blue. There had been blood. A large amount of blood. But whose blood was it? DNA testing revealed something shocking. The blood did not belong to Daniel. It belonged to another missing person, a 27-year-old man named Marcus Hill, who had disappeared nearly 2 months earlier. After leaving a nightclub in Houston, Marcus also vanished after entering a rideshare vehicle. Suddenly, investigators realized Daniel's case might not be isolated. There could be a serial predator operating through rideshare apps. Police reopened several unsolved disappearances across Texas, involving late-night transportation services. Similar patterns began emerging: fake passenger accounts, disposable phones, victims disappearing without robbery. Fear spread quickly online. Uber drivers across the country began refusing late-night pickups in industrial areas. Some drivers started carrying weapons. Others quit entirely. Meanwhile, Daniel's family waited desperately for answers. 10 days after Daniel vanished, search teams made a grim discovery near a drainage canal roughly 20 miles outside Houston. They found Daniel's phone. The device was damaged by water, but forensic specialists managed to recover partial data. Most files had been deleted remotely. However, one fragment of audio remained. It lasted only 17 seconds. Investigators never released the full recording publicly, but according to reports, the audio captured Daniel arguing with the passenger. Daniel repeatedly asked, "Why are you doing this?" Then another voice answered calmly, "Wrong place, wrong time." A loud crash followed, then screaming, then silence. The recording horrified investigators because it suggested the attack may not have been planned, specifically against Daniel. He may simply have been unlucky enough to accept the ride request. But the biggest breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Nearly 3 weeks after the disappearance, a woman contacted police after recognizing the suspect's sketch released on television. She believed the man resembled her former boyfriend, 38-year-old Travis Mercer. Mercer had a violent criminal history involving kidnapping, armed robbery, and assault. More disturbingly, he previously worked as a rideshare driver himself. Investigators immediately focused on Mercer. Cell tower data placed his phone near the area where Daniel disappeared. Financial records showed Mercer had recently purchased multiple prepaid phones using cash, and forensic testing later matched Mercer's DNA to evidence recovered from the motel room. Police obtained a warrant and raided Mercer's small trailer home outside Houston. What they discovered inside stunned even veteran detectives. Hidden beneath floorboards were dozens of stolen identification cards, burner phones, and handwritten notes documenting rideshare activity across Houston for nearly a year. Investigators also found maps marked with isolated roads and industrial areas. But one discovery disturbed them most. Mercer had been tracking drivers. According to investigators, he specifically targeted drivers who worked alone at night and frequently accepted rides in low-traffic areas. He studied their schedules, their habits, their routines. The Uber ride itself was merely the trap. Police believed Mercer used fake passenger accounts to lure drivers into isolated locations, where he could rob or abduct them without witnesses. But Daniel's case turned darker still. During interrogation, Mercer admitted encountering Daniel, but denied killing him. He claimed Daniel panicked after seeing the gun and crashed the vehicle before escaping into nearby woods. Detectives did not believe him. Search teams intensified efforts around the wooded area near the shipping yard. Cadaver dogs eventually alerted investigators to a shallow area beside a creek hidden deep within heavy brush. There, on September 9th, 2021, authorities found Daniel Reyes. His body had been concealed beneath debris and branches less than 2 miles from where his car was abandoned. The medical examiner later determined Daniel died from multiple gunshot wounds. The discovery devastated the community. Hundreds attended Daniel's funeral in Houston. Long lines of Uber and Lyft drivers formed a silent procession outside the church with headlights shining into the night. Many drivers said Daniel's death represented every fear they carried while working alone. But investigators still faced one final mystery. Why had Mercer done it? Robbery alone didn't explain the elaborate planning, fake identities, or pattern of violence. During trial proceedings, prosecutors revealed the disturbing truth. Mercer had developed an obsession with rideshare companies after being permanently banned from driving for repeated complaints, involving threatening behavior toward passengers. Friends later testified he blamed rideshare platforms for destroying his life. According to prosecutors, Mercer targeted drivers out of revenge and resentment. He viewed them as symbols of the life he believed had been taken from him. The courtroom fell silent as investigators detailed how Mercer manipulated the trust built into rideshare systems. Apps designed to connect strangers safely had instead become tools for violence. In 2023, Travis Mercer was convicted of murder, kidnapping, and multiple related charges. He received a life sentence without parole. Authorities later connected him to at least 2 additional disappearances still under investigation. For Daniel's family, the conviction brought some closure but not peace. His daughter would grow up without her father. His wife would replay that final voice message forever. And thousands of drivers across America would continue, opening car doors for strangers every night, wondering who might step inside next. Today, rideshare companies have introduced new safety measures, emergency buttons, audio recording systems, passenger verification tools, but experts admit no technology can fully eliminate the danger of human unpredictability, because sometimes the most terrifying crimes begin in the most ordinary places: a street corner, a quiet road, the backseat of a car. Daniel Reyes thought he was accepting one final ride before going home to his family. Instead, he entered a nightmare nobody expected. And perhaps that is what makes this story so haunting. Not the violence, not the investigation, not even the killer himself. It is the terrifying realization that evil does not always arrive wearing a mask. Sometimes it appears as a normal passenger standing under a streetlight, waiting patiently for someone to unlock the door.